This is the area. I'm just going to paint or print off this wall here, but just off this green tinted wall, slightly green colour. I'm going to use the red. I'm just down there.
So this is me painting the wall with the ink off the roller. Got stopped by one person asking what I was doing, but they were happy once I said it was good to remove the ink.
I'm not going to move it not. Not let me wear, isn't it? And it's time for a piece of paper. Here's one of these notebooks.
The paper I used is just from a notebook. And you can see that I taped the top of it, pressed it down, and then I used a small piece of cloth to wipe it on the back to put the pressure on. But as you can see on this one, when we take it off, it wasn't too clear a print. So I thought I'd put some more ink on the wall for the next print.
Give me a bit more ink on the wall.
Just putting some more ink onto the wall now. You can see that I use the top of the tub because I'd forgotten a smooth surface to put the ink on and to roll it out. I need to get the ink rather than putting the ink on the wall, because if I put it onto the wall it would have forced it into all of the gaps between the little mosaic tiles. Then we put the paper on again, and this is where we get a stronger image come off this one. Using a little cloth just to wipe it all and press it down to the ink as much as we can.
So I just thought about it, and I wonder if I use wet paper, whether it would come into the ink would transfer across quicker and make a stronger print. And as it's been raining and there's a lot of puddles around, I might give that a try in a minute.
That idea was from when I've done printing at the university, and you normally wet the paper first before you put it into the press with the inked up workspace.
Do that one. A bit happier with that one. So I'm going to try a smaller piece.
This is again 160 GSM paper from these notebooks. Just tear out a page and then use that. It's very useful for me.
So there's a little puddle here.
I like these shots because you can see the reflections of the buildings in the background through the puddle. So as I take the soaked paper back over to the wall and place it on, you'll see what happens. The ink does transfer almost immediately onto the paper and get sucked in to the fibres. I was very happy with that print, but the ink did start running on the page, and then it was time to clean off the ink on the wall, and I started panicking. But then I pulled out the microfiber cloth from my little collection of tools, and it soon wiped off nice and cleanly. Almost back to spotless. This shot I like as well because you've got the clouds working on the reflections in the mirror as I clean off the tools to get the ink off. You can also see the damaged piece of the wall behind me as well.
So this is under cover of a tree. Down there in that area there is the underground parking garage, which I didn't know about until this week. There's my notebooks of paper. And then as you can see here, from that side there, those tiles there, those mosaics, are different to these ones. These got a weird speckly colour and pattern on them. So I'm just about to do that now. I'm going to use some blue ink because this is in a darker area.
These mosaic tiles are Italian.
Then
and they've apparently faded since they were installed when it was brand new. The building was erected in '66 and opened by the Queen in 1967. This is quite a shaded area in the quadrangle opposite the canteen, and the floor underneath my feet sits above the underground car park.
Let me use the water from the puddle this time.
Lots of broken glass in this area, so I'm being careful about where I put my feet and where I put my tools and the different parts. I'm using a cloth to pull the ink off the wall through the paper again. And you'll see in a moment, I'll take another couple of prints before it starts hammering down with rain. Quite pleased with that print as well. That's quite nice and clean. I do another re-ink of the wall before another piece of paper, and then I change it into a green colour. Put that paper on first off and it moved, so I flipped it over and then carried on pressing it against the ink. This also comes off as quite a nice little print. I was happy with that last one, but this smaller print I put on at an angle so that it isn't all square with the paper, so you've got quite a 45 degree. And now I decided I want to put some yellow ink on the blue, mix it in with the blue and create a green colour, because of the greenery and the trees that were around me, and there's a lot of ivy as well that's growing throughout the building. You can see that the yellow added it to the blue and created a lovely green, which comes out nicely in some of the prints that come off this little section. Again, this is a large piece of 160 GSM paper from a sketchbook. I did put this on at an angle as well because I liked the idea that it wasn't 90 degrees and the colours came out quite nicely on that. This is just a quick run, and then I started cleaning it, and I decided that I wanted to do another print with cleaning chemicals and the colours, which also came out quite strong, and now it starts tipping down rain. I'm now taking my pictures back to the car and put them in there and use it as a drying rack before I come back and finish the cleaning up. You can see the rain building up on the leaves in front.
Across this leaf, squish between these two pages. Definitely autumn.
These are the final images, so you can see some of the prints that have turned up there. These are the larger pieces of 160 GSM. Before we move into some of the smaller prints, you see the strong red one there, which is when I wet the paper in the puddle. Quite happy with the output for today.